So if you want to do better in the trading markets, then you need to listen up, because I've got a strategy that's got me about an 80% win rate over the past year or so, trading on NQ, copy trading 25 funded accounts, and I've been having an absolutely excellent time recently, just basically adding more accounts to my copy trader and just having a really good time trading. Lots of people found January quite difficult in terms of people who trade liquidity, but I found it pretty easy, to be honest, and it's just because of the things that I'm going to show you in this video. So as always, make sure you like and subscribe, leave a comment down below, and I'm just going to show you the strategy, and then I'm going to show you some of the trades that I've taken recently. So let's get into it. So let's take a look at the charts. We can see here I've just marked out my swing lows here, because this is how I trade. Very, very simple strategy I'm going to show you now. All I do is, say for example, this is your market structure. NQ very often doing stuff like this. If you go on your hourly time frame, you'll see this pretty much exact scenario. We're kind of chopping around. We've got some market structure. All I do, it's really simple. It takes me like 5 seconds. I'll go and mark out all the major swing lows like this with whatever tool you like. I just use this Ray tool because it's just clean. And then I'll basically just go and set alerts at all these levels like this and just wait for them to get hit. And then very simply, when they come down and get hit like this, I'll be looking for reactions for inversions back to the upside. So let me just delete these alerts because I don't want these to trigger randomly throughout the day and freak me out. But very simply, my trading strategy is just liquidity sweep, and then we're looking for inversions. Recently, 3 and 5 minute time frames have been absolutely cooking for me, whereas the lower time frames have had a few more losses. I like to try and take the highest time frame inversions that I can, just because they do have a higher win rate for me. And obviously the 5 minutes got the 1, 2, 3, 30 second, 15 second time frames baked into it. So there's more data there and more confirmation of reversals. But basically what I'm looking for is sweep, inversion of a fair value gap like this. And the ones that I like the most are these 3 candle pattern V shapes like this. So you can see here, say for example, this is your sweep. We come down, we've swept liquidity, we form a fair value gap, and then the third candle in the pattern, you can see you form your fair value gap here, and then bang, you come and you inverse back to the upside in 1 candle. This is what I like to see the most. And then very simply what I do is I enter on the inversion. I have a manual stop loss, which is about halfway between the low and the gap. I size for about halfway between the low and the gap as well. I risk about $150, $200 per trade. So usually I'm in with about 2 or 3 micros depending on the volatility at the moment for NQ. And you can see here, I'm just looking to target a 1-for-1. Once I hit a 1-for-1 on the trade, which I pretty much always do, to be honest, I'll take half my position off, so about $100 per account, and then go break even on the rest of the position. And then I'll just look to target obvious liquidity levels above. And that's the strategy. It's really very simple. So say for example, I entered here. This was a 3 candle pattern V shape. Stop loss is halfway between the low and the gap. Targeting a 1-for-1. I'll take half my position off here, and then I would just take probably another micro off at this high, and then just try and hold runners up through levels of liquidity. And it's really that simple, guys. That's all I'm looking to do. And as you can see here on NQ, I've just set an alert at a few of these lows here that we could get trades from. As we can see right now, NQ is looking pretty bearish, and I've also started trading gold a little bit as well, because gold's had some good 5 minute trades recently, but gold is currently down over $1,000 from the all-time high. We're at about $900 down right now, but this is an absolutely unprecedented, crazy drop. I mean, I wouldn't say unprecedented for me, because, you could see this come in with this ridiculously, stupidly bullish chart. I mean, this is just parabolic. This was obviously going to pull back at some point. But you can see recently we've had quite a lot of volatility. Gold has actually been giving a few good trades recently on the 5 minute. But you can see here that right now gold is just absolutely absolutely going crazy. Friday actually gave a good 5 minute gold trade, I think. Was this the trade that I was thinking of here? Yeah, this was it. Look, I've actually started trading gold a little bit, just on some separate accounts, just because it's been giving a few good setups. You can see here, clear liquidity sweep, which I would have had marked with a alert, obviously, if I was trading this. And then you can see here, this one would have worked. This was a 4 or 5 candle V shape, so not quite as good, but you can see this obviously would have gone for a 1-for-1. And then, depending on where you size for, almost a 2-for-1. Probably would have trailed my stop, because on gold, obviously, risking $150, $200 is probably only about 1 or two of the position. I don't know what the denomination is for these. APOS? Is this APOS? Ounces per ounce. So just say 1. I'd probably only take this with 1 ounce, as you can see, because in reality the sizing for this would be massive. This would be like probably a 200 or 300 point stop loss with 1 denomination. So, but anyway, NQ is what I mainly trade, and recently NQ has been giving quite a lot of 5-minute bangers. We obviously had an absolutely ridiculous dump on Thursday, down around 1,000 points, which meant that the Friday was going to be pretty choppy, and you can see that's exactly what happened. Friday was pretty awful, to be honest. There were multiple setups that failed on Friday, but I was actually out and decided not to do anything on Friday because it was pretty horrible price action. You can see in the AM we actually got a trade that potentially would have won here if you'd have taken this. You can see we come into the London Open, accumulation, manipulation, distribution, but we didn't get any major sweep here. We did sweep out some lows, as you can see, throughout the night. We come all the way down to this level here, tap this fair value gap, and then get a bounce on the 5-minute. This 5-minute, as you can see, would have worked. Sized halfway between the low and the high. Target 1-to-1, target 2-to-1, target 3-to-1. There you go. Very, very simple trade. You can see though, if you look throughout the day, we came into London Open, into New York Open, I should say, and the price action was absolutely horrible. We had data highs and data lows on both sides. We had inverses in both directions, and basically pretty much all of this was just nonsense. You can see here we came down. We had this 5-minute here that was a 3-candle pattern V-shape that instantly failed and then worked again. But obviously there was no sweep really here, so I probably wouldn't have taken this. Once we get this close to, you can see, you could have argued this was the sweep, but in reality, when we're so close to this low, I would have wanted this low swept first, to be honest, for this to be a valid trade. This is also in the PM, so you would have really wanted to see sweep and inversion there. No major sweep, no trade is usually what I'm doing at the minute. There was this really, really weird trade during, was this NFP or was it FOMC? I think it was. This was a pretty ridiculous trade. I mean, obviously, I probably wouldn't have taken this because the stop loss is like 1 billion points. But you can see this is a pretty interesting one. We had a choppy open because we had FOMC later, as you can see here. This is absolutely awful price action. Just chopping around, slowly grinding down. And then, look at this unbelievably, this is one of the most ridiculous V-shapes I've ever seen. On the 3-minute here, we come down. We've got accumulation. We come down with a huge dump, sweeping multiple levels of liquidity. You can see very obvious liquidity here being swept, major lows being swept, unbelievable reaction back to the upside. As you can see, like realistically, the stop loss on this is too big to take, but you can see the idea. This is a really, really insane 3-candle V-shape. You can see this went for a 1-for-1 after about 10 or 15 minutes, but basically a pretty insane trade. But you can see the idea. This is obviously the model for me. Huge sweep, insane inverse, really good momentum, 3-candle pattern V-shape, good targets above, and just basically that momentum would have sold me probably, but I wouldn't have taken it because the sizing sadly was too big for my risk tolerance, which is fine. It's also part of the game. But you can see here there was plenty of a chop last week, so not the best. But we could see Tuesday we also had a winner. Another simple trade really. We come into open, we swing up, we swing down, we sweep out loads of liquidity, as you can see, pretty obvious. And then you can see by this reaction back to the upside, really, really good momentum. We close above on the 5-minute. This did close above by a tick or two, as you can see, so it was valid. This was a really, really high momentum trade. Obviously swung down here, what was it, like 100 points or so, and then swung all the way back up, entered here, sized halfway between the low and the high. I actually took this with 2 micros, which is around here, and because I had such conviction that this was going to go up, we came up here. I started trailing my first micro after we hit this 1-for-1 because I had a feeling with this momentum we'd continue up. I think I got to around a 2-to-1, trailing on like the 1 minute before I got stopped on the first micro. So that was about, what we're looking at, $200, $150 of profit. And then I had the second one once we got up to about a 3-for-1. I started thinking, okay, once we start chopping around here. When we get the next impulse, I'll start trading again. Next impulse happens, and then I got stopped on this one for about a 4-1. So I made about $300 or $400 per account on this trade. Another really simple one, another 5-minute one. The 3 and the 5-minute have been the best for me recently, because it really cuts out a lot of the noise and a lot of the crap that happens to you on the lower time frames. And I've noticed more and more as I've traded more and more that the 3 and the 5-minute have had the highest percent win rate for me, because I think they just contain more confirmation of the reversal. I think if you inverse a 5-minute gap, it holds a lot of credence compared to obviously a lower time frame gap, as you would expect. And then last week there was one more winning trade for me. These were alerted all, by the way, in my private Discord. These 3 trades that I took were all alerted in the Discord, so if you do want to get access to my alerts and more information about the strategy and join the community, you can do down below in the description. But you can see this one was pretty much the simplest and the cleanest of all of them. Really, really obvious low. Super obvious. We open up, new week opening gap, we close the gap, we're grinding to the upside. We get this swing down through London. Really, really obvious sweep of liquidity. Really good reaction. Once I saw this candle here, I'm thinking this is definitely going to be an inverse potentially. As you can see, 3 candle pattern V shape. As I always say, 1, 2, 3 candles and then the inverse. This is the best inverse on the market in my opinion. So we've got our major sweep of liquidity. Lovely swing down into this area, as you can see. 3 candle pattern inverse, sized about halfway between the low and the high. Took this with about 2 micros there. As you can see, waited for 1 for 1. 1 for 1 gets hit after about a little bit of slow momentum here. You can see we tapped this upper gap, came down to break even, chopped around for a little bit. But you can see we hit the 1 for 1 there. Scaled 1 there, and then I just held the second one all the way up for a good while here. Trying to target this area here. We obviously swept this into this in at the open. And I actually ended up holding this second micro pretty much all the way up into this area here for a really, really ridiculous $400 or $500 win. Overall, a very, very good trade and super simple. This really isn't rocket science, and you don't have to be on the charts all the time. It really suits my personal trading strategy. And as we can see here, there's been 2 or 3 wins last week, and basically avoiding quite a lot of the losses just by waiting for these major swings and obvious inverses back to the upside. 3 and 5 minute ones. It's been good. So that is the strategy, guys. I do appreciate you watching. If you want more info, as I said, you can get it in the description below. Go and sign up and get involved so you can get alerts for all of my trades. I alert every trade that I take. I've got an 80% win rate, and I've been having a great time recently in the markets, even though a lot of people have been struggling with this strategy. As I said, 80% win rate. Like and subscribe, leave a comment, let me know your questions down below. I'd love to hear from you, and I will catch you in the next video. Thank you.